The Gig Essentials podcast is being brought to you by you. Aw, thanks guys.
What's up, guys? This is Corey, also known as QC Rideshare, just out here grinding. And so I'm on the road, and my night actually was more of a surprising night because I wasn't really expecting the volume to be what it was. It was higher when I thought it should be lower, and it was lower when I thought it would be higher volume. So, I was thinking, sometimes when you are given kind of a situation in which you're expecting higher volumes, or your night's just different than what it has been in the past, there's some thoughts that go through your mind as to how to kind of proceed with that. Do you keep grinding it out, making the dribbles and making the money? What do you use as a template to say, maybe I should call this one and take the money that I got and, still look at the day as a success, not so much giving up on a day. So let's go ahead and consider that. Hit you with a quick ad break, and then we'll come back with it.
Aw, time for a break, guys. We'll be back soon.
What's up, guys? This is Corey, and I just wanted to really quickly tell you about a brand new podcast that I have absolutely been in love with. This podcast is called Shutter Count, and what it talks about is amateur and pro photography. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to get into photography. Unfortunately, it's something I never got a chance to truly experience and evaluate and try to investigate it to see what I need to do to become a great photographer. In this podcast, not only are they going to talk to you about techniques, tricks, tips to become a better photographer, they're going to talk about software that they use, cameras that they use, lenses, how to set up the perfect picture, and they're going to do it in a way that the amateur like me can understand, but also the pro that you are can understand. So check it out, Shutter Count. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all your podcast formats. And always, you can check it out on Anchor FM. That's Shutter Count. All right, so the scenario is that you're having a pretty good night. Things are going good. Things may be slowing down just a little bit. You don't want to give up your night. It's not a failure of a night, but when do you make the decision of, I'm taking my night for what it was. It was pretty good, and now at this point, I'm done for the day. Well, so here's how I view it. I like numbers, and I kind of monitor numbers all throughout my night. So I was looking at and one of the numbers I always look at is dollars to miles, because that's a good way of identifying if you're just doing a lot of extra driving. How many dollars are you making for every mile that you drive? Now, every city's going to be different. I know I have a cousin that lives in Philadelphia, and she's often $3 to every 1 mile, and that's just normal. Now, for me, I'm in North Carolina, so everywhere we drive a little bit further no matter what, so it's a considerable difference. So whenever I look at 1-to-1 would be fantastic, 2-to-1 would be even better, or actually 3-to-2 would be more realistic. If I can get a 3-to-2, I know that I'm rolling, things are great, which means $3 for every 2 miles. The concern that I start to get is when my dollars run where I'm driving 4 miles to make $3. That's when I start to be concerned, because that means that I'm doing a lot of extra driving. And when you look at that number, and I know some people are going to say, well, that's kind of no one wants to be bothered with those numbers. But if you think about the number on a larger scale, that means to make $75, you've driven 100 miles that day. To make $150, you're now to 200 miles that day. How many miles how many miles make sense for you to put on your car for that amount of money? And so that has to be something that you have to look at for your market. And what you do is on normal nights, not any special events or anything, at the end of your night, just write down what your ratio is. And then you write down, the more information you have, the more numbers you have, the better of a basis you get for what's a reasonable night. For my night tonight, at one point, I was 2-1 and I was ecstatic. And by the time I decided, hey, you know what, this night's kind of not going anywhere, I was at 1-1. So you saw, I can tell just by my mileage that there was a steep decrease in my money that I'm making in the time that I'm out. So it's time for me to go ahead and pack it up. And then I look at how much time I'm driving. How much am I making per hour? Does that make sense? So you have to consider all these things. And I know sometimes doing all these numbers and everything is laborsome, and I probably said that word wrong, but it's late. But you still have to consider these things. It's part of your business. It's how you're going to make driving and making this a business make sense. And if you don't, you're just going to be out there wasting money. And I don't think anybody has the goal to waste money. I think everybody wants to be out there and be efficient. So that's what I have to say about that. Nothing too over the top. But if you would like to see more details of how I come up with my numbers, definitely hit me up in the comments. I'll be more than willing to kind of, do. I think I'm going to end up shooting a video about it anyway, but I know with how busy I've been lately, it's easier for me to record my podcast and edit it later than to sit down and set up my camera and video and everything. So definitely hit me up. Also, just remember, the podcast is listener supported. Anything that you can donate is appreciated. You can go into the show notes, which will show a link to support the show. As always, no matter whether it's supported or not, I'm always going to give unbiased information, just because I'm not going to be bought for my content. So that's that. And so until the next one, peace.